Oh, hello, everyone and no one, and welcome to another Talking Into the Void. Tyr will be late as he is on the Minions of the Zoo with Kefki and all the rest, but join me, and Will may not be making it. He's been having some pains, but sometimes, an eldritch abomination must slumber. But join me as usual as well as Angela. Angela, how you doing?
Hey, how about you?
Not so bad. So let's get into that one thing we kind of brought up of how it seems like in either reboots or going from one form of media to another, the wanting to take a villain and make them worse. So we were kind of bringing up the like Five Nights at Freddy's in the game from everything I'm aware of. First, I think Scott Coffin was the creator for everything he put in there. The purple guy, I can't remember the names. I think it's William Afton. I know it's an Afton, but
hmm
he was just a child killer, and all of that was a result of him losing his own two of his three children, one by his own
Yeah.
hand because of the one thing. And then in the movie, apparently they're like, yeah, we're also going to make it seem like he might have been a pedophile. And it's like,
Yeah, I do not.
he was
Go
already
ahead.
a child killer. You didn't need to make him worse.
Yeah, I did not get. Um, I do not understand the need to start off with somebody who's already horrible, like very clearly evil person. The example that we brought up in comparison being Freddy in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and how when they remade it, they had to turn around and make him a friggin' pedo too.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, maybe we shouldn't say that word.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think
But
I'm big enough to really affect, like, I want to say when they were first making Nightmare on Elm Street, they were like thinking about making him a pedophile, and they were just like the writers and they're like, I mean, he's already a child killer. Like, do we really need to add even more into it? Like, nobody, like, there isn't anyone who's going to look at that being like, okay, he's a child serial killer. That's cool. They're gonna be like other than a psychopath.
yeah, it's like, he's not so bad. He just kills kids.
Yeah.
No, you're not, you're not cool with that if you are a normal
Yeah.
human being.
Especially in like suburbia.
You don't have to turn around and take something that's in a lot of ways more horrific and add pedophilia to it.
Yeah. Well, that's like with, we can also look at some of the other ones. The killers, or it's like, Hollywood killers and that whole thing of them being mad. What was it in one of the more recent Halloweens that Michael Myers kills a gay person? Like, how could he do that? And it's like, because he's a killer. It their sexuality is relevant, just like when, it from the new It movies goes
Hmm.
through and like say it's like seemingly saves a gay kid only then to kill him to consume him. It's like they're not meant to be these morally like on your side enemies, or it's like creatures. They're meant to be, opposed to all but their own
Yeah, no,
interest.
that the when they turned around and threw back their heads to howl at that, I was like, no, that was actually in the book. I cheered the movie creators on for getting that part right
Well, like,
and actually including it, because in the original miniseries they did not bring that up
yeah.
because it was made for television, and it was during like the late 80s, early 90s, and there was no way they were going to touch homosexuality
And why
on
aren't you
mainstream
popular for
television.
Facebook Messenger?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Um, but there's no way that they're going to even
Hello.
uh, I
And there he
touch
is.
homosexuality. homosexuality
Dear
in general.
Jesus Christ. Like,
Sorry,
I
Tyr.
had your name in my head, that it just fucking stopped, and it's just like, we're gonna blank that out for a second.
Sorry, Kevsky.
Oh no, it's
Yeah.
okay. We knew that from last night.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's no way that they were going to touch homosexuality in general on mainstream television.
Oh, especially in the
During
fucking
that
70s. Or was
Well,
that the 80s?
It was the late 80s, early 90s.
Still, they
What did I walk into?
we were discussing of
We're
how
talking about
well, we were discussing how it's like, as they've progressed, like either a reboot or going from one form of media to another form of media, they've want to take in the villain and make them worse. And then we got into the whole thing of like how in modern day there's people that get mad because, you know, a being or creature or human or whatever that's a serial killer or a killer of people would dare kill like a gay person or whatnot and not be like their ally. It's like, they're not meant to be good people. Like we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I was about to say it.
But in it, the death of Adrian Mellon was actually a really big deal. The gay bashing and subsequent killing of Adrian Mellon was a big deal because the townspeople themselves were going to beat him to death. That's Dark Laser.
Oh, sorry.
Were going to beat him to death anyways. They just threw him over the bridge into
the river.
So they just fed him to it.
Into the canal where it happened to be there to feed on his fear from being bashed. So it's not like and it is not like it was something that didn't happen at the time.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I want to say for the remake of the movie, I think there's the two of them, but there's the one where like they show, you know, it like pulls the guy out of the water and he thinks he's saved and he bites him bites into the side of his chest.
Yeah, he takes a huge chunk out of his underarm.
He took a bite out of crown.
That's the last thing that his lover sees before he completely loses his mind.
I'll see myself out. That's it. That horrible joke.
I mean, surprised he almost didn't. They didn't have it turn and say, "Huh, tastes kind of fruity."
I have had it with these motherfucking sharks in this motherfucking ship.
Not even anywhere close to what we were discussing.
I have no idea what you were just talking about, but okay.
I think he was supposed to be making like a Sharknado / Snakes on a Plane reference.
Deep Blue Sea Deep Blue Sea Snakes on a Plane reference.
Snakes on the sharks on a underwater.
Point of information. I was gonna say point of information. Deep Blue Sea did not take place on a ship. It was a research laboratory.
Yep.
It was an underwater research lab, yes.
Well, it was a slightly, somewhat submerged research laboratory. Because they did have stuff above
I just
water.
said the wrong word.
We're not correcting you angrily. Calm down. Did someone miss their nappy naps?
We're not angry at you. We're just disappointed.
Just tired.
It'd be like that sometimes.
We were literally just talking about it, actually.
Yeah, like I actually took a nap today. Not a good one, but you know, I got like a solid 10 minutes.
Not a bad one.
Yeah, for how I usually am, it's definitely not like that. Otherwise, what'd you guys do today?
Nothing. It's tomorrow's Tuesday's the last day of my vacation. I have to go back to work
trying
Friday.
to get my car working.
What's up with your vehicle?
So apparently if you put it in reverse, it'll go in reverse just a little bit. But if I go to put it in drive to push it in, it won't. There's no gas or whatever going to the drive.
Okay, so it sounds more like something's up with your transmission.
Probably. Apparently, there's no compression on cylinder 3. I have no idea what the fuck that means.
That means that there's a bad seal and it can't get full compression because that's what it's doing. If memory serves me correctly, as the cylinder is actually going up because it's got a mixture of oxygen or air and gasoline, so that way it can cause the spark, which helps force the cylinder backwards. Therefore, running your drivetrain, allowing it to go through everything else, push that drivetrain further. I don't know everything.
So I need to get a new head gasket in there?
Not 100% sure on that. Depending on what its make and model is, it might not be a whole head gasket. It might just could be a loose spark plug.
It's a 2001 Ford Escape.
It could be any numerous things then.
Gonna say that's running a diagnostic on an automobile by Discord chat is not
Not ideal, especially when you don't have anyone in here that is an actual mechanic.
Yeah, understandable.
It's like if you were going to ask me how to change your spark plugs or the headlights on your vehicle, it wouldn't be an issue. But other than that, that's kind of the height of my capabilities. Or to open the jack for your tires. Depending on what model jack you have.
Mm-hmm.
What was I? Oh, you asked what we did today.
Yes.
I watched The Dark Crystal with Maddie in the House of Geek chat.
Mm.
And then I watched Top Gun for the first time.
The original or the new one?
The original. And then because it was also on Paramount Plus, I watched Top Gun Maverick after that. And then I watched a really bad, fun but bad movie called Kill Squad in Frosted Glasses Discord. And now I'm here.
Yeah.
Yay.
I went and got some groceries. I watched the newest Unsub where they had the one of the only, it's like, I think only still alive or living survivors of D-Day.
Is the last living survivor.
Yeah, last living survivor
of D-Day.
At least
My
for
God.
the Allies, yeah. And this one, in my opinion, was definitely better than last week's that they did in the Pentagon. Though the Pentagon one, has its place in the world. And online of like what it can do, it's like this one was a bit harder to watch in some moments, but it's still a good episode.
Oh my god, this is the dumbest fucking account I think I've ever found on Twitter.
Andrew Tate.
I think it's just as stupid and vapid.
Here, I would recommend that unsubscribed video. It's really interesting. The guy's like 102 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And his life.
Yeah, he
just the parts of his life that he talked about was fascinating.
Oh yeah, he
I really want to get that book.
Yeah, he basically lived very similar to how my grandfather did. Like my dad's father really only had about a 3rd to 4th grade education. And that was
It's
all
called Against Atheism. Sorry.
Well, no, this guy went to high school.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, but he almost that's why I said like they almost lived similar lives in that whole thing, because his father basically went and said the same thing my dad's or my grandfather's father had said to him, which was basically, you don't need school because we have it's like we have a farm to take care of. And basically it took later on for what also happened to him as well, Papa Jake, that his elder brother was just like, I'll take over for him, except for it was his and my grandfather's instance, it was basically his older brother Conan being like, I'm going to take him and be the father that it's like basically be the father figure he should have. And if you try anything, I'll stomp your ass myself.
But yeah, the teacher, his like K through 6 teacher turned around and told his dad, please send him to high school because he's a brilliant kid and a fast learner. This was when he was 9. He was 9 years old and had finished grade school and was being told, his parents were being told, please do not end his education here. He's brilliant and needs to go to high school.
Yeah, there's a high plausibility that he could do great things, and holding him back could be a detriment. And then, you know, as he progressed and everything and joined the military, he not only is the last living survivor of D-Day, as far as I'm aware, he's also the only survivor from D-Day that didn't get a scratch during the storming of the beach. Like, he didn't get shot.
Not a single
scratch. It's the reason why he calls himself the luckiest man alive.
Actually, from the sounds of it, from what he said, literally the only medical issue he ever had was that
he had a stroke.
Appendicitis. No, I'm talking about during his young years. Was that issue with appendicitis, and that was after he had joined the National Guard.
And what's up, Clown? Oh no, the other funny thing is like he told the story of like, because of him getting into photography, he ended up borrowing like his commander's camera.
Brother.
And he apparently his commander had sent the film back to his wife, and when she developed it, he ended up accidentally getting him in trouble because there were some gals in there.
And she thought
none of them explicit pictures or anything, but basically they're like, what are you doing? To where, so the commander ended up taking his camera, taking a picture of him. That ended up getting sent back to his folks, which ended up getting put in the newspaper. And the woman that would later be his wife saw that, cut out that picture, put it in her wallet. And when her friends had asked her about it, she had flat out said, that's my future husband. That's the man I'm going to marry.
That's the man I'm going to marry.
And they
had never met him.
Yep. From his hometown.
Like, she knew he was a hometown boy, and he was a hero in the war.
Sorry, I'm just feeling really exhausted right now. I'm just about to head out.
No worries, man. Take it easy. Hopefully you can get your stuff fixed.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Sometimes you just need to get some sleep.
Be safe, my friend.
But yeah,
it's a different time.
She was just like, this random picture that I cut out of the magazine is the man I'm going to marry.
Yeah. And then she ends up meeting him and going through everything, and quite literally never says anything until one day when he bought her a new wallet for her purse and whatnot, and she takes everything out and there's that picture, and she explains the story. Oh no, she didn't clip all the pictures. She just had that, like, instantly fell in love.
Ooh.
She like turns around and asks him if he knew the guy. And it turns, he's like, I need to tell you a story.
Ooh.
And he's like, yeah, it's me.
Yeah. Like, the dude lived one hell of a life. And he's just like one of those guys that, like,
comes like stalker behavior.
That's why I was like, no, she didn't like clip every single picture. It's just that whole thing of she fell in love with a guy while she was still in high school that was out in the war, that was younger than everyone thought he was, or some of them thought he was. Because he did, like a lot of our heroes of the American Society for the Army or for the military, they lied about something. Well, they lied about something to get in. Like when you look at Ching Li, that'd be Admiral
his
now.
Eyesight.
His eyes. We've had at least three different people, whether it be the Navy, the Army Air Corps, the Air Force, that it's like they're some of the greatest naval captains or pilots or gunners or whatnot, and they all cheated on their eyesight exam because
They all blind the bat.
They all had bad eyesight.
they all had bad eyesight.
But Ching Li, it was a hilarious thing because the guy was a freaking Olympic sniper before he
Yeah,
even
he was an
joined the military, and they denied him because of
my
bad eyesight.
my favorite thing for that one is the whole thing of they tried to say he had bad eyes after he had gone through and won Olympic gold, and one of the 22 pistols that he had blew up in his hand, and he couldn't use his right hand very well. So he talked to one of his friends. They tossed him a freaking one of their pistols, and he went on to still win gold with his left hand.
Mm.
Like, this is a dude who went down to part of Mexico and whatnot, you know, back when they would like dock the ship on the shore and everything, that took his rifle and just went out and stood in the road and waited for someone to shoot at him and miss, and then he would shoot them
Mm.
and not miss. This is the man that turned basically his naval warship into a gigantic sniper rifle. The same
Yep.
man that when he would get Marines on there would basically challenge them to rifle shootouts. And as far as I'm aware of, he never lost.
Not bad, motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
took.
Sounds like a badass.
Oh yeah,
This is, just to be clear, this is not the D-Day guy.
No.
This is Ching Li.
Okay.
The D-Day guy is a different dude.
yeah. The D-Day guy, he got put all like through a bunch of different things, and like because he took typing and whatnot, he got put into a thing to be a secretary, only to find out that to do that job, technically he's supposed to be a sergeant and have a corporal that helps him, but he's a corporal. And the commander was like, well, I gave those sergeant stripes to a friend and I can't take them away. And it's just like, hey, excuse me?
Oh,
Otherwise, I'll be back in just a moment. I got to grab a drink.
that's kind I have to. Maybe I actually have to watch that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like he went to high school when he was like 9,
Mm-hmm.
joined the National Guard when he was 15, and then when he was old enough, he joined the Army or the Navy. I think the Army. I don't think it was the Navy.
For who?
In the Navy.
But the more like going overseas military rather than the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was in the landing at Omaha Beach during D-Day.
Mm-hmm.
Turned around and they set up a foxhole to sleep in
Oh,
that night, and he like lined his, I forget what it's called, but he lined his the spot he was gonna sleep so that he wasn't sleeping on the wet sand.
Mhm.
And told his friend that he could sleep there because he was given
Night guard.
nighttime guard duty. And instead of sleeping on the liner thing, the guy put his gun on it and slept next to it. And when it was his turn to wake up and take guard duty, he went to pick up his gun. And when I say gun, I mean rifle. Yes, I know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And the rifle fell in half. It had been hit by shrapnel while his buddy was sleeping. And so if he had not been given night guard duty, he would have been dead because he would have been sleeping where the gun was.
Damn.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And brother, no, it's not really like stalker behavior unless I was a stalker because I had my wall of boys in my bedroom.
I think that was
That's
a more
gay.
recent thing. Well, it's not really that gay when it's a woman
I
doing
was
it, Tier. Like,
Gonna
I know, but
say,
still,
I don't think so. I
it's
had
not gay, but it's
I had
it's female.
I had one full-sized poster that we got at wrestling. It was Rowdy Roddy Piper. And then I used to get like the old teen magazines that would have the pictures of the popular actors of the time. So I had like Will Wheaton and Sean Astin and
Of course, you had Sean Astin.
Kirk Cameron, though I wasn't really into Kirk Cameron. My roommate was more of a Kirk Cameron.
do you have the Corys?
fan. Oh, yes. I absolutely adore Corey Feldman, and Corey Haim was okay. Corey Haim was great in Lucas. If you haven't seen Lucas, I recommend.
Yeah, that was still one of the weirdest things to have happen was like gone and visit it was like when I was younger, go and visit a friend of my dad's and whatnot with them and like go into their daughter's room because I'm hanging out with her and there's just, teen magazine, basically boys all over the place. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
fucking weird. That's what I'm thinking to myself because I'm a kid and I'd never seen it because my best friend, who's a woman, is also gay.
Oh, wow.
So
I had like the one large wall of my room was like top to bottom, wall to wall pages out of the teen magazines. Like the full page pictures out of the teen magazines.
Yeah, I never had that. That was always weird.
yeah, Tier kept it limited down to one boy.
And fine, it was just one. Okay. Still
Tell
weird.
me it was Sean Astin, and I will have respect for you.
No.
Aww. All of my respect went away.
I never had posters on my wall or anything. Like, I've never been. Yeah, that never interests me.
Unfortunately, Vincent D'Onofrio was never teen magazine material.
See, if I ever get it to where I move out of my apartment and can get a house and like have an office, I probably won't use my camera too often, but I know I'm going to get slightly criticized for the fact of my, anime wall scrolls, and I really don't care.
I had anime wall scrolls. There's a lot of shit I would like to put up.
I'm judging you, Rotten. I'm judging you harshly.
Oh, I don't care. They're gonna get mad. They're gonna get mad at me for having wall scrolls, and then having freaking figures and plushies and whatnot.
I had my room wallpapered with boys, and I'm going to judge you about your wall scrolls.
Oh, I just meant people online because regardless of what you do, they're gonna judge you.
Right, I judge you anyway. I'll wake up, roll over, and you know what? I think I should judge Rotten today. That's the first thoughts out of my mind. First thoughts in my mind. The last.
God damn, man! I didn't realize I got to the player. Didn't realize I got to the. It was in the episode of Chappelle's show for the player haters ball. Just coming here, just hate.
Very true. Your walls have never been empty, brother, but you had spaces between your posters, and your stuff is nicely framed. I literally just had my room was wallpapered with.
As I sip my soda, I'm pretty sure one of y'all spit in.
What?
Player haters ball. He goes, as I sip my soda, I'm pretty sure one of y'all spit in.
Gross.
No, it was the player haters ball.
Yeah, it was a skit.
It was a skit.
That's still gross.
I mean, all that reminds me of is the old joke to where, I can't remember exactly what it was. We're going to say it's a military member and two more activists and whatnot. They're all on a plane. They're sitting in the same seat, and they find out, well, as the one guy goes, they're going through the flight and everything. The guy who was in the military, he gets up to, or he takes off his shoes and he gets up to go use the bathroom. One of the activist types spits in his shoes, but he had asked before he left if he could get him a Coke. He comes back with a Coke and gives it to him. Well, later on, he has to do that again, and he gives the other guy a Coke, and the other guy spits in his shoes. And later on, near the end of the flight, he goes, you guys, we really ought to bury the hatchet and let all this go. They're like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, all this spitting in shoes, pissing in Cokes.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew you were going to say that, or worse.
Right, did I ever tell you you're my spirit animal?
Yeah, I got that joke from my dad. I just can't remember it properly enough.
I just want to let you know that you are my spirit animal.
I'm not a super Chappelle fan, brother. I did like Half Baked. That was a fun movie.
Chappelle Show.
Chappelle Show. Just like any show, it had its moments. Like I still think the black white supremacist or black KKK member was one of his funnier skits. The other was when they got the one older black guy, and he was trying to say, it's like do the whole let me holler at you, but he didn't quite understand. It's like, can I holler at you? Holla, 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 holla. And like he just completely ad-libbed that shit. And it was, to me, hysterical. But then there was other ones that just weren't near as funny.
Civilization. I'm trying to get some. Catch my son. Black Bush. He went down to the cradle of fucking civilization. You got some yellow cake. Most definitely
modern problems require modern solutions.
Yes. You get the two oldest teachers in the
and then basically because of his whole thing of like argument with Comedy Central, they got Key and Peele, who basically did what Chappelle did.
Just worse.
Some of their skits weren't bad.
I'm glad they had some good skits.
I don't know this reference, but my brother says Charlie Murphy telling stories of Rick James.
Yes, that's where they got the Chappelle dressing up as Rick James or him dressing up as Prince because Charlie Murphy is Eddie Murphy's brother. So he was going through and telling stories about the different celebrities he had met over the years, especially after his brother got famous.
Shit, Charlie Murphy was fairly famous.
Yeah, he wasn't anywhere near as famous as his brother was.
Oh fuck no!
And right. Like that's where the Rick James one. He's like he brings up like how he got slapped and how him and Eddie Murphy beat the shit out of Rick James's legs for grinding his feet, his dirty ass shoes into his white leather couch.
I said, "Never gave you niggas money."
Which is funny because my brother just said "F your couch."
Yeah, that's one of the things he says.
Couch,
and it's just freaking Dave Chappelle playing those ones. Like he brings up the one as well of like where he goes and he visits Prince with some friends and everything, and ends up playing Prince in a basketball game.
And he gets his
ass beat, and then like Prince has pancakes made and serves them pancakes. And like the final joke, is Charlie Murphy being like, good game. And you just have Prince like, for one of us.
For one of us, bitch.
Because he's like, when they go in there, it's like, oh, we don't have the clothes for it. So Prince gives them like gym clothes to wear to play basketball, and Prince and them show up in like Prince's regular attire. So Charlie Murphy makes a joke, so let's call this shirts versus blouses. And apparently, like at the end of the game, when they win, Prince is just like game blouses.
But like he called him shots like powder blue, probably wrinkle pink. Like what the fuck are these playing? And they just handed their ass, and Prince goes, yeah. And like he would slap somebody's ass like, man, I'm not even fucking team. Good hustle.
And then at the end of it, he's just like, you know, he's always like, any of you who don't believe me, go challenge Prince. Bring your crew. Bring a camera.
Like, God
He
damn.
said, my brother says, and Prince turns out can ball like a mofo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah,
Charlie Murphy ain't
the-
talking no shit no
Freaking
more.
playing basketball in his regular performance gear. Yeah.
and what's up, K-Show?
Hi, Keisha.
Yeah, and then
You
for
okay?
the Rick James one, like they had, you know, Charlie Murphy telling the story, but then they had Rick James was still alive on there to corroborating
soul.
it. And just when they were playing the stuff back in time, Charlie Murphy still played himself, and they had but then Dave Chappelle played Rick James.
Yeah, I put my bare feet on Eddie Couch.
Cocaine's a hell
Cocaine
of a
was a hell
drug.
of a drug. Like, no, they didn't hit me. Like, yeah, they said. So I got that new Power Radios Unity. So I had them like, yo, you just said me. That was weeks ago, Charlie Murphy. Why can't we? Like, yo, just like 20 minutes. It was? I'm sorry. It's cocaine. It just made me do shit.
Like, because of that skit, I actually had one of my commanders that I had back in the day, and this was still slightly not too long after my knee surgery, that they did a dress up theme for I think it was the Christmas party. And he's a black man, and he dressed up like Dave Chappelle's Rick James and acted the
Rick
part
James.
minus some of the language.
Rick James, bitch.
My brother says cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yep, that was a line they put
That
in
was
there
the line.
several times, because you actually have Rick James saying cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Because he was high off his ass when he was doing that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, Rick was a habitual line stuff. He would cross the line and you had to check. You just had to fuck him up. You know, it wasn't good hit. You just bring him back. But every so often, you had to check him. Yeah, I did. I wish they did more of him, because I'm pretty sure he got some fucking wild stories about like Red Fox and
Oh, I
whatnot.
would be surprised.
I know he had some wild stories about that, man. And Richard Pryor, because Eddie was close to Richard. You tell that jello poop pop eating motherfucker to suck my dick. I'm not going to tell you the name, but I'm going to tell you the situation. I would like to talk to you about the things you say on the show.
Yeah, and then just with like Dave Chappelle as well, I wasn't as big fan of his a lot of his musical guests, but they just weren't really my thing. But I still did think the Hood Sesame Street was pretty funny, and then him having Q-Tip on there as well.
Yeah.
It's a VD thing.
Oh my god.
Yep, because they basically had most of the puppets were played by, other than one was a person, most of them were some form of an STD.
Oh, you had the Oscar the Grouch,
Mhm.
played by Charlie Murphy. Like, I'm gonna go eat me a steak and Fifi sandwich.
Well, like that whole thing started out with off the joke from one of his stand-up routines. And he's like, "Has you ever noticed?" It's like, he's like, basically, he's like, a lot of kids. He's like Sesame Street basically conditions people to, he's like, those kids to ignore white people. They'd be like, whatever, get a job, Grouch.
Shut up, get a drop, Grouch.
Yep. And then he made his whole thing of like, it starts off like you see these two kids. They're like, "Hey, I found something," and it's a broken syringe. She's like, it's a syringe. She's like, it's a dagger. And the Muppet that's voiced by Dave Chappelle, until he comes out, he's just like, "No, kids, that's a syringe."
Mm.
Oh wow.
To then
It was the more screwed up Avenue Q.
Yeah. Like he goes through, like the puppet injects into himself.
Evan
You
Q
have
is pretty screwed
Snoop
up.
Dogg also talks about one, and they show puppet penis for some odd reason.
Oh my god.
And then, like, they're like, what happened? And you, it's Snoop Dogg. He's like, I get all hella puppet ass.
Mm.
It is a more screwed up Avenue Q.
Oh yeah, it's one of the few ones. It's you usually if you find it on YouTube, it's played not in reverse, but the screen's reversed.
Because it has to.
Hmm. I don't know if it's so much anymore because of how long it's been since it was there. But it was
I
'cause
mean, it's probably not.
you might be able to find it now. You could probably find it just looking for it online. But like, it's a pretty funny skit, like with singing and everything. And it's like they have one. I think it was like the thing for herpes sounded more like Elvis, and they had
It's your old friend Herb. Hey, Dave.
no, the clap is the one. Gonorrhea was the one who saw that. And he's like, oh, Dave Chappelle, haven't seen you in a while.
Shut.
Nasty motherfucker.
We are the crabs on your nuts. We grab.
Your
Please
pubes are
sit until it's see.
And we not, please.
We'll pinch our
Wow.
nuts with our feet.
Correct.
You guys.
we suck. We know we suck. It's okay.
You guys are awful.
Have you met us?
It's one of those I kind of hate myself for laughing at you sometimes.
I mean, we're not the only ones who've made those jokes and everything.
Clearly not. Dave Chappelle made them first.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And if
And then I
we
kicked
didn't
her
make
right in the
these
pussy.
jokes- Hmm.
What?
That one's based off his joke to where he brings up of like how he'll write down phrases or something and put them in, like put several phrases in there in a jar, and he'll pull out a couple, and then that's going to basically be his punchline. So he'll try to go through and construct a joke around it. And then he has the whole thing, and then he'll sit, then he says out of nowhere, he's like, and then I kicked her right in the pussy. And it's just like, what?
Oh no! When he was talking to his agent, he just like say random shit,
Yeah.
like zip it up and shift it out. Oh, okay. Bye, Dave.
I mean, the best one who had something like that was Brad Williams. And before Bob Saget died, he got to meet Bob Saget.
Oh, yeah.
And he brings up
You
of how
told
John
me about
Stamos was there. And so was the other guy who played the other uncle. I can't remember his name.
Jesse, not Jesse.
Dave Coulier.
Yeah.
Uncle
Yeah.
Joey.
Yeah, Uncle Joey. I couldn't remember. Yeah, because Jesse was John Stamos.
Well, Uncle Jesse
Yeah.
and Joey.
But like, Bob Saget didn't tell him that he was going to bring him there, and John Stamos has a fear of little people. So when that happened, John Stamos starts freaking out. So he like just runs in there and jumps on his leg. And apparently, the other, what was it, Poulier?
Cool, yeah.
Coulier.
You know, like when he sees it,
Coulier.
like he comes up and he does the scissor moves, just like, hey, he's like, hey, Brad, cut it out.
Mhm.
But like apparently when Saget came up to Brad Williams and he's like, oh, do you want me to? He's like, of course, you know, I love Uncle Jesse, you know, have mercy and everything. He's like, no. You don't understand. He's afraid of little people. And Brad Williams is just like, does this, he's like, I know what I must do. So he does the whole thing, like, yeah, he runs, jumps on, grabs onto his leg, basically starts dry humping him because and then it goes and does that whole thing.
That's so gross.
Oh, I mean, he also brings up the story, you know, where he went to Iraq, I think it was, or Afghanistan, and got to go in an attack helicopter. And because of they don't make body armor that most people are aware of for little people, especially from the military, he didn't have a combat vest. He had a combat dress.
Mhm.
So like when he went to go get into the whole thing or get into the into the helicopter. He couldn't, get in there. So, he had to look another grown man in the face and basically kind of pull the whole Lord of the Rings, toss me. But instead of the guy just helping up, he does the whole thing, pick up, like, does the one, and like does the swim, two. That fucking dude would want to do that for fucking years.
Mm.
Oh yeah, then the bit with the gunner of not telling them, having to test fire the gun, so he thinks they're under attack, and he's like, yeah, I got my first period that day.
No.
Yeah, if you've never seen Brad Williams stand up, I actually recommend it. He's pretty damn funny.
I see clips every once in a while. I think he was the one where he was like, he let his wife choose their outing for the weekend.
Oh yeah.
And she
goes bride picking.
Apple picking.
Yeah.
Huh.
And he's like, apple picking?
Have you seen me? The other good one is because like he talks about with his girlfriend that I think is now his wife. Because she's originally from Minnesota, but she's Asian. He's like, he's like, I thought I was gonna get the whole, hot Asian girl. It's like, oh, me so horny. Instead of she was like, yeah, good, don't you know? But apparently she's also a black belt. I can't remember one thing. And one of the times they had it that they were at a bar, guy bumps into her, tells her to watch where she's going, bitch, being an asshole. And she's like, you better watch it. My boyfriend will kick your ass. And she points over to the boyfriend, Brad Williams, and he starts laughing. Well, as he's laughing, she roundhouse kicks him, knocking him the fuck out.
Mm.
And like he had a whole setup in between of like, oh, I'm gonna see her be a badass. And apparently like the guy's friends came over, the bouncer came over, and they said what had happened and whatnot. He looks over at her, looks at Brad, looks back at the friends with their knocked out friend, or the group of people with their knocked out friend, laughs and basically tells them to leave.
Take your friend and go.
Yeah.
Take your friend and your dignity and leave.
They have none left.
That's why they're going to take what's left of it and go.
See, I already know what would happen if that would have been me, except for it wouldn't have been like, shut up, bitch. It'd been like the offer to replace her drink. And then if she'd just been like, oh, you got to get one for my boyfriend. And I'd use the old joke. And it would be that whole thing. Since I've never seen his girlfriend, I wouldn't know what she looks like. It'd be like, he can get something small. And then when I just showed up for it, I just started laughing because basically I offered to get her dwarf boyfriend a small drink. You got to admit, that would be a funny situation.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, I haven't watched a comedy special in a long time. Other than that one with Tyr and Johnny, the torture is how you make friends.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, you want to talk about haven't seen a comedy special in a long time. I think the last comedy special I saw was The Queens of Comedy.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who was in that.
It was Monique some more.
I'm like going, I know Monique was in it.
Odell Williams, and I think that was it. It was somebody. It was a double.
There was like 4.
It was Odell Williams was MC, and I know Monique and some more because they were the only 2 funny ones there.
But yeah, there were like four women. But it was like the female counter. They did the Kings of Comedy, and then they were like, well, the Kings of Comedy went well, we'll do the Queens of Comedy.
Yeah, well,
and I saw both of those sets.
Yeah, I think
And Steve Harvey fucked that up.
Well, I think the Kings of Comedy started after they did like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
I believe it was before.
It was before
It
the Blue
was?
Collar
Hmm.
Comedy Tour. Mhm.
And again, they were supposed to do another one, but Steve Harvey fucked that one up. Steve Harvey wanted to be wanted more money because he felt he was bigger than everybody else. At the time, he fucking wasn't. He had compared to Bernie Mac, who was infamous as a comedian, and Yellow Hughley.
Yeah. I'll say, well, Bernie Mac had that whole thing, like he was infamous slash famous. He was hated and liked. It all just depended. Like it kind of was a
Depending on the week.
yeah. It was. It wasn't just depending on the week. It was really dependent on the person.
Yeah,
Fair
it
enough.
was because you either really liked him or you really didn't.
But yeah, again, he felt he was above them, and he fucked that up. And then that's what started the beef between him, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac.
Well, like I said, there was the first the Kings of Comedy tour, and then there was the Queens of Comedy tour, and those were the last two that I saw.
I just meant stand-up specials. I've never
Yeah,
actually
that's
been.
what I'm saying. I didn't see them live or anything.
Yeah.
They were
It's like
at my
closest I've been
HBO.
to an actual comedy show. It's because I've never gone to the bars for it or any of the things. Is they did one that happened while I was in the military at my second tech school.
I did see a comedy show at the a comedy club here live once. That was after that, but it doesn't. I don't think it counts, and I think it was just local comics. I don't think it's anybody that got like actually famous.
Yeah.
I remember really liking it because one of the comedians, his entire bit was around the song "Epic" by Faith No More, which is actually one of my favorite songs.
Well, watching a sketch clown is exponentially different from watching the entire set. And that's what we're talking about. It's like
Yeah.
watching an entire comedy special. Because like the last one I can remember watching, it's like, yeah, I've like because of that, like I've seen a metric fuck ton of like little bits from comedy sketch or like from comedy sets.
Yeah, I was talking about like full on comedy, stand up comedy shows, brother.
Okay.
And Mitch Hedberg was a mixed bag. Sometimes he could be funny, but it didn't
I
always
did?
hit.
I don't remember it, brother. I'm going to have to watch it again. Because I'm not even 100% sure who Bert is. Unless
Who?
you're talking about Sesame Street.
No, he's the one that did the whole thing, the skit of I Am the Machine that they most recently made a movie about.
Machine.
Because like what he had meant to say to the Russians that he was working with or over there for was supposed to say, it's like, I am the machine. It's like, yeah, it's like, I'm a machine. I know how to work the pussy. But because he actually got sidetracked, or it's like kind of scared in front of the Russian gangsters, all he said was, I am the machine. And they fucking loved it. So he partied with Russian gangsters on a train in a town in Russia.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, quite literally, he had
That
it.
still doesn't tell me who Bert is.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So.
Because I know he used to hang out with another comedian. I just can't remember who. Gotta adjust. All right.
Oh, it's BERT. It's a movie?
Well, he was in a movie recently. Nope, not Opus. Share your screen. Yeah, apparently he
Bert
was in this.
Kreischer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on Netflix. So I won't be able to watch it. Oh.
Legitimately. Yeah, wait to watch it if you want to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
Alright.
just going to do the one thing, it's like that. Of like, you can find that thing on YouTube probably. But yeah, basically he's the stand-up comic.
The machine.
Cool.
Yeah, but I know he's done Kill Tony. He's had some other stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure the movie, they over dramatized a bunch of shit and like put shit in there that didn't happen, just like they did for Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear was ridiculous.
Well, the whole
Okay, the
thing
whole
of
stand-up is on YouTube. Yeah.
for Cocaine Bear, the whole thing with that, it's like, the movie quite literally shouldn't have even been 5 minutes, because it would have been the cocaine falls off and the bear gets into it, eats it, and most likely not too long after that dies.
Yeah, but it was a fun movie.
Gonna say that movie was a lot longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's based
And
off
that
what was
bear was
originally a meme in
actually
that whole thing, and they set up for a sequel.
That bear was actually addicted to cocaine,
Yeah.
and so was its babies. So were its babies.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but with how it was in real life, that's not how it would actually be.
Oh, absolutely no. Because the bear basically just ate an entire brick of cocaine.
And then at some point died.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like, if you go through and you look at a lot of the movies that they're like based on a true story, the main character, the person they get to play the main character, looks next to nothing like the actual person.
Yeah.
It's actually I probably said this before, but I recently watched the movie. I know you've heard me say it before, brother. I recently watched the movie Saturday Night, which was a movie about the night that Saturday Night Live launched.
Mm.
Its very first episode.
Mm.
The guy that they got to play John Belushi is terrifyingly accurate to John Belushi. Like, I got goosebumps and chills.
Nice. Well, it's like, that's the thing
Sweet.
that you want to see in something like that. But typically, when you look at a lot of the other stuff, like to where it's they stood up to the gangs or some shit like that, they don't look like they actually are.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
get someone like, Mark Wahlberg or The Rock to play them.
Edward James Olmos, who the guy that the teacher from Stand and Deliver did not look anything like Edward James. Like the real teacher, Jaime Escalante did not actually look anything like Edward James Olmos.
Yeah.
Shit, Morgan Freeman did look anything like Joe Clark. Damn it.
But yeah, I do recommend the movie Saturday Night. It was fantastic. John Belushi was the only one that really, really looked like the actor that he was portraying.
Hmm.
But the guy that did Billy Crystal while he didn't look exactly like Billy Crystal, he had like the facial expressions, the physical mannerisms
Mhm.
down. Like he looked enough like him to be passable.
Well, that's what
Um,
a lot of people are hoping for.
But he like his face, like he had the right hair, the hair was right, the body size was right, but he had the most amazing like the facial expressions, the physicality, and the voice were dead on. Like if I squinted my eyes really tight,
Mhm.
I could believe he was Billy Crystal.
Well, I mean, typically, like it's almost the whole thing. Like you're never really gonna have the person look like the people that they're supposed to play, and
Mhm.
sometimes they do. Most of the time, they don't. As long as they can usually get the mannerisms correct, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Like Rami Malek will never look. Well, he kind of did look like fucking Freddie Mercury. It's kind of scary how eerily similar he looked to Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Oh, it's the way it is for some things. It's always that thing for so many of them. It's just Hollywood thinks it's not going to sell if it does. In a lot of cases, if it doesn't have a Hollywood starlet, and that's why they never say the story. It's like the true story of it's based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when you're pumping in hundreds of thousands of dollars, you really don't want to take the risk that it's not going to sell well.
Because that's like whenever they bring, because like they do that for that, and then we see how they do it as the book, which is it's like for the books, and it's like whenever they turn a book into a movie, and it's always funny. It's like hearing like Functional or Mitch being like, "Oh, people don't just want to see the book on screen." It's like 90% of the people I know, if a book's going to be made into a movie, they want to see the book on screen. Like they want the depictions of that. It's you can kind of cut the stuff that's not needed, but you got to keep the stuff that is needed.
I at least want the characters to be true to what the characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Do not have a character do something that they would not do in.
Well, see, the problem, there's a twofold problem with this. First part of the problem is when you're adapting a book to a movie, you got to cut out. You don't have 7 years to do the entire thing, so you got to cut out a lot of superfluous information.
That
and then
Broughton said that was fine.
Yeah.
And then you got the other issue of you got assholes who want to inject their this is what the author, especially if the author is dead. Oh, this is the author meant to do. Like, he meant to have him like this, or he wanted him like this. We're just bringing the untold vision that he had for this character to life.
No one ever wanted to see the book version of the Lawnmower Man. Like
that is absolutely true.
It's why, like I said, it's like 90% of people. It all depends on the book. Because if you look at something like Lord of the Rings or The Dark Tower.
Just really quick, did you ever read The Lawnmower Man?
I don't believe I have.
The Lawnmower Man was a short story by Stephen King about a guy who hires somebody to mow his lawn, and the guy ends up stripping down naked and eating his lawn and then eating him.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there are also certain things as well.
That was The Lawnmower Man.
Some books don't need to be adapted into movies.
Well,
that is what should have happened with The Lawnmower Man, because
You got shit like The Shape of Things to Come, which is based. It says it's based off the book, but it has nothing to fucking do with the book.
Yeah, the movie The Lawnmower Man is nothing.
But like, I'll also make this
To do
argument
with-
with you, Tier, and the whole thing. It's like with one, they could do it in TV shows, but for two, like they could also flat out say to people, "Hey, look, we're not doing the entirety of like X amount of books. Like we're doing either like one book or most of one book, and then we're gonna do the rest of this book into part of the next book for the movies." And there'll be people that would actually appreciate that instead of being like, okay, so we got to take 3 books and condense them into an hour and a half storyline. It's like, no, the fuck you don't.
Again, that's something they want to do.
Okay, an excellent example of a book that was converted into a movie that that most people of the time loved, even though there were entire characters that were left out of the movie, was Gone with the Wind. They left out an entire marriage and 2 children that Scarlett had. Because
Frank and
there just
Scarlett,
was
I don't
not
give a damn.
there was just not enough time in the movie to do all of this.
Mhm. And again, that
So,
that's
like I said,
again, also we're looking at that was a different time. That was also when movies were only like a little over an hour. And that one
Gone
went
with the
almost,
Wind was so long it had an intermission.
yes, I was saying Gone with the Wind is one of the ones that had broken that. And nowadays it is more common, instead of hoping something's going to have a sequel, but making movies based on stuff that already has a vast amount of information to it, whether it be a book series, a comic book
Or
series,
built their fan base that they can milk
Yeah.
for money.
that they don't have to go through and try to take all of it and put it in there. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I like the Dark Tower movie, but the Dark Tower movie makes no sense to the actual Dark Tower book series.
Oh,
It makes more
don't
sense.
get me started, because it's a good movie.
It's a good movie
but
for what
they
it
shouldn't
is.
have called it The Dark Tower.
Yes, it should have just been something else. And basically, it's like it should have been something else because, like, one, Roland Deschain is a white guy. I know some people will say,
Who
like,
looks like
oh, I know he looks more
He
like
looks like
Clint Eastwood,
Clint
but
Eastwood.
but the funny part is, like, he looks more like Clint Eastwood from like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but rocking a 45 Colt version of the Smith & Wesson Model 29. So he's rocking a Model 25. So he doesn't have a traditional Western revolver. Yes, that even gets explained in the books. And people are like, well, how do you know the gunslinger is a white guy? Well, considering the fact
Because
that
he said
Odetta,
he's a dead ringer for Clint Eastwood.
well, not only that, Odetta Holmes calls him white slurs, you fucking tards.
That's true.
If he were black, she'd call him black slurs.
Because Odetta was black and hated him because he wasn't.
Yep.
It
Well,
was actually it was actually an important part
Yeah.
of
one of her personalities
storyline.
hated white people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
You
it
know,
was Odetta Holmes.
that- And then you
or
have,
was it Susanna? I don't think it was Susanna.
I can't remember. I know that like when she had the whole merging, she came out as Detta.
Hmm.
But then you know that the Randall Flagg, I can't remember his fucking name, but basically the person he's chasing in the first book, they kill him in the first movie, and he doesn't die to the last book, and he doesn't even die by the gunslinger.
That's true too. My brother says Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas was pretty true to the source material.
Again, it's the whole thing of they get some of it pretty close to, but something like that is exponentially more grounded in reality.
I was
Mhm.
gonna
And there are
say in that particular case, it actually kind of makes sense.
Mhm. And then there are other things that once you're going into the fantasticalness of science fiction or fantasy, it's not going to. And this is the reason why in a lot of these cases, I really think they should stop doing anime or live action adaptations of things.
Yes.
Especially when we're talking about comic book characters or whatnot, because like I don't have a problem with the Ghost in the Shell movie that they made in the US, because the Major is a cyborg, so her having a different body for a while makes sense. Hell, even
Yeah.
the live action version of Death Note that people got pissy about, of them making a white guy the one thing, or it's like the main character, and it's like, because it's not the anime or manga of Death Note set in America, it's the same Shinigami in a different area
Mhm.
with someone else find a Death Note. It's just like some of that shit gets annoying. But there's a lot of it that it's like, if you don't want to have to try to find the actor who can play it and just want to get the person who could voice it the best, or if you feel could voice it the best, a lot of these things should be animated.
I honestly think they shouldn't touch. Some properties shouldn't be touched. They don't have respect for the source material, and they shouldn't touch it. Like the Lord of the Rings should have never been adapted to television.
Well, that was
Like
for
they
Rings
should
of
have.
Power, because like a lot of people will try to say that like the best adaptations were the first three movies, and while they are the best
Nope.
adaptations that I'm aware of, other than maybe the first Hobbit cartoon,
Yep, Rankin and Bass.
they're still not the greatest adaptations, because again, they cut out a lot of the stuff that is necessary in the book.
Like I said, the best adaptations were the Rankin and Bass cartoons. They go through all the major events that you need as best they can.
I still lean toward Peter Jackson, but
Nope, Rankin. And even then, we got kick-ass songs.
But I mean,
don't get me wrong, I love the Rankin and Bass cartoon.
like if you want to
15
see
birds on 5 trees.
bad adaptations as well, one of the biggest ones you can look at is Aragon.
No,
Yeah, that was terrible adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
so bad.
Or a lot of the ones that try to do the whole thing for anything from to be Cthulhu-esque.
Fair. The thing with Cthulhu S that they don't get is that the whole point of it is you can never fucking win.
Yeah.
You're all fucked.
Well, it's the thing is like you can win for a short period, but you won't win in the end. And yes, the new Crow reboot was supposed to be closer to the original comics. Like that was the problem they had with the sequel to the Crow, was the way it was actually supposed to be based is it would have been a more faithful successor of the Crow, but also more faithful to the comics themselves. And then like I just was discussing with Angela before, of how the studio inserts themselves into it. Because like, okay, if we want to look at the second movie of the Crow, again, this is early internet time frame, they actually went to Crow fan base messaging boards and were asking them what they want to see and did not want to see in a Crow sequel, and took all of that into the account. The writing, directing, in the studio still fucking pushed their dick in it and fucked it up.
Well, right, and the to an earlier point you made, like you can win for a short time. Like no, there's no even victory is horrific. Like,
Oh yeah.
In Lovecraft, you don't come out unscathed. You know, it's not a clean win. You come out fucked up. Victory and defeat are just the same.
I think the one that get the closest for that is Into the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Madness.
Because the same guy who plays the main character in that one is the same guy who plays the ship designer in the oh god damn it, space horror movie with a ship.
Oh no. You're talking about Sam Neill, and you're
Neil
talking about
is the main character is the main actor in The Mouth of Madness.
Yes.
yeah, but that's
The
not
Dr.
that's-
Alan Grant from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Sam Neill.
Yes, that's what I just said.
No, and I wasn't thinking of Jurassic Park. I was thinking of
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
But he's not the
That
same
might
character.
be true.
That's not the same character.
Oh, I know they're not the same character. I thought they were the
He
same
wasn't.
actor.
He was saying the same actor.
yeah,
He wasn't
yeah.
saying
Jesus,
the same
dear.
character.
But no, it's like, you know, he has that whole thing to where it's like he doesn't necessarily win and he doesn't necessarily lose, but he has the whole thing of seeing how the world had changed in the way everything went. And the you know, it has that whole ending of like him watching the movie and then just having that like hysterical of lost his mind laughter of realizing how everything is gone.
But in the end, it doesn't fucking matter.
And now I have a song in my head.
In the end, it doesn't even matter.
At least we know most of the time we'll never get a copyright strike on my channel with that because we all suck at singing for the most part.
Yeah,
Or I think we just sing badly on purpose most of the time.
I sing badly on purpose.
Sure you do. You left it open.
I
But
did.
yeah, for the Crow reboot, again, it's just the whole thing that they want to go off what happened. And the biggest thing that did help the Crow in a lot of cases, and I kind of hate to say it, was the fact that Brandon Lee died. Having a character on there die during the filming that was relatively was known. I wouldn't say he was super famous, but he was still pretty well known. And he'd worked with some other famous actors. Because like Brandon Lee had done a movie with fucking Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Brandon Lee was pretty famous.
He wasn't Bruce Lee famous, but he was making his own name.
Yeah. I love how fucking fat ass what's his fat ass Steven Seagal took credit for like if you examine the gun you'll find that there was a bullet inside, and sure enough, what did he find? A bullet. Like Master Sensei, you were right. The fuck? Of course we won't find a fucking bullet in the gun.
But like for the first Crow, they still went away for a lot of things of the comic. And it was just because of a little bit more Brandon Lee and everything. That's why for the second movie, even though they had the original Yellow Ranger as one of the female villains, she gets to have the realization that she can't beat the Crow, who instead of being a martial artist is just a straight up brawler. Like he's going to take hits, and now that he knows he can't die and he'll regenerate, he doesn't care if he gets hit. He's just going to take everything and then keep coming until he either gets you or until you're too worn down to fight back. Just for the new Crow thing, I can't remember who they got to the plate, but like
Bill Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. It seemed like they were trying to go for that like sleek, sexy vigilante thing and like emo vigilante thing, and it's like, dude, stop.
No,
Like the second movie,
it made no sense.
The second movie, you guys
Well-
fucked up. Just let the series rest.
Rule number 1: you cannot take Bill Skarsgård and try to make him sleek, sexy, anything.
They tried.
He is like his brother
Well,
got
okay.
all of the good genes,
Let-
and he got all of the stuff that was left over.
Let's put it this
He's
way:
the Danny DeVito.
they
of
didn't try
twins.
to make him like the sleek, sex. Like they tried to do the emo, sexy thing. So they don't always have to look big and buff. They just have to look kind of okay looking and scrawny in a lot of cases.
Yeah, my point is he's not sexy.
Some women think he is. Some people juggle geese.
Yeah. Go ahead and have your goose. Because his brother's hot.
Well,
No-
that was a
no
Firefly
goose.
reference for that one.
Yeah, I know.
Some people juggle geese.
Now I'm trying to remember his brother's name. He played Eric in True Blood. Alexander Skarsgård.
I watched a bit of True Blood, then after a bit, it just got super fucking boring to me.
Suki is a terrible main character, and I hope she died horribly.
She was really great in the books, actually. The books are way better.
They
I'm not
I
usually
couldn't
gonna
get
lie
into
to
the
you.
books.
I am not gonna lie to you. They are housewives porn,
usually.
but I like the fantasy story aspect of it because it has a lot of like Southern folklore in it and stuff like that that I am really, really drawn to. Also, Suki is not a great character, I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of the side characters are really fantastic characters.
I mean,
It's kind of like watching Twilight and going, if it wasn't for Edward and Bella, this would be a really great story.
Yeah, pretty much.
If it wasn't for Sookie Stackhouse, True Blood would be a great story.
I just like in the one part where they find out about her lineage of being part of the Fae, and they have, the actress say, "You tell me I'm a freaking fairy?" Although I think she might have said fucking, I don't know. It's been years since I've seen that.
My brother's still stuck on the Crow.
I just hated her as a character.
I mean, he's right. They should have. It's like what it was supposed to be was just, they weren't necessarily like for the Crow. They weren't necessarily bad people. They just had an odder lifestyle. And then because of tragedy, she was able to pass on, but he wasn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this one, he turns around and she got killed because he got pissed because he found out that she wasn't some innocent Mary Sunshine person, and he stormed out and she got killed while he was out or something.
And the one with Bill Skarsgård, it had time travel. Somehow he goes back in time and saves her fucking life, but he's still dead. That shit was terrible.
Oh, I just refused to watch it.
Aside from Edward and Bella, were good characters, brother. They just decided to wrap the story around Edward and Bella, and they are just shitty characters.
I will continue to say this. I think True Blood should have just been Lafayette ragging on vampires. It should have just been an hour of him just ragging on people.
Actually, my favorite, the one thing that they changed in the series that I loved was that they did not kill Lafayette, because Lafayette dies in the first book. In fact, the murder of Lafayette is kind of the launch of the Sookie Stackhouse storyline.
Well, that's like for Dexter. Dokes doesn't die. Technically, he's on life support, but it's actually supposed to be the reason why Dokes gives Dexter so much shit is because he also has a dark passenger. That's why it comes. That whole shit comes out of nowhere, being like, "You're a sick freak, Dexter."
No, actually, brother. 50 Shades of Grey was Twilight fan fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey comes after Twilight.
She started off writing fan fiction about Twilight and then changed the characters and made them non-supernatural when people told her she should turn it into a book.
Yeah, no.
Well, as I said, 50 Shades Grey is bad BDSM. But it's that whole
50
thing that
Shades of Grey is abuse disguised as BDSM. There's a little bit of a
and slight
difference.
cult indoctrination.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Still having fun arguing with a woman about that's like one of the guys I used to hang out with at one of the gun shops back in New Mexico. And his wife was like, "No, it's a love story." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And she's like, "No, I've read all of the books. It's a love story." I'm like, just saying that you're fucked up because of your mom being a whore or whatnot is not an excuse to be like that. And you only think it's a love story because he's rich. That's like it again, like with Angela bringing up like basically the written porn mags for women that tend to which is really funny because they tend to have some of the most fucked up shit in comparison to like regular porn.
Yeah. Read VC Andrews sometime.
Mhm.
Like forced freaking pregnancy, a whole metric fuck ton of rape. But everybody is also super hot.
They do both suck, but like I said, they're the reason that Twilight sucked was because of Edward and Bella.
Yeah, I never read the
And
books,
the idea
yeah,
of
neither have I.
and
vampires
I've never read or
sparkle.
seen the movies.
I had
I had a
I had-
girlfriend that was into it.
I had children that were in that age range, and I read what my children read so that I knew what they were reading.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly respect that. Like majority of the books I read were actually recommendations from my folks.
I had the unfortunate pleasure of having a girlfriend at the time, and she was into all that shit. So I took her to see all the goddamn movies, and I had to watch all the motherfucking
There's a very
movies.
big difference of going and watching something because the person you're with is into it. That's called supporting them.
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't. I'm just saying that's why I did it.
So you did it because you're a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as she did it in reverse for some things as well. It's like, again, it's not an expectation of everything. It's just occasionally. I think
I took it.
Well, I say I think there are someone who confuse that of thinking that because of their wants and interests that the boyfriend or husband is supposed to cater solely to that. But if she doesn't like something like that he does, he either needs to drop it or he can do it without her.
I made her go watch Hancock with me, so I guess we were even.
What I found like the most disturbing about Twilight, because it was like from the very beginning.
He was
Let her finish.
No,
Clearfield?
was that Shark Boy was the more attractive of the two romantic options for the lead character.
What I found more disturbing that he was 100 years old and she was a teenager and he was hitting on her.
He was a teenager.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't. Angela, he had lived for 100 years at the time.
Just because he had lived for 100 years does not change the fact that he was a teenager.
All right,
he even still had teen angst.
I got a question for you. I got a small question for you. Do you know the character Claudia from Interview with a Vampire?
Yes.
Was she a child or a grown woman?
She was a child.
She was a grown woman. She was in the body of a child, but she was a grown woman. She had lived almost 50 years at that point.
She was a child who was frustrated by the fact that she couldn't become a woman.
Yeah.
No, she was a woman that's frustrated.
Stop. Shut up.
Body.
You also have to look at which source material it is as well. Depending on certain source material, there are also ones to where when they turn, especially if they're not were never born a vampire, they can have the whole thing to where they're kind of frozen in time and don't really grow as a person.
Physical growth and mental growth are two different growths.
Yes, but that can, again, it also depends on the source material. Not all vampire source material is the same. You fucking know that.
And
so you cannot always apply lore from one source material to lore of a different source material.
Okay,
That's what you're trying to do.
Okay, I'll use the logic of the movie. In his room, he said he loved classical music, something that would be only of his, not of his time. Like he grown that way. He grown to like that stuff. Again, he was an adult in a child's body. Well, not even a child, a teenager's body. He was a grown man.
Truly,
He
given the time that he was changed, that would have been
he had the
popular music in the
But again,
time frame
and again, Tyr,
or the
hold on.
upper class that he was a part of.
I'm going to agree to disagree.
That's fine.
You also have to understand as well, like Twilight started out, if I'm correct as well, didn't started out as more like fan fiction, basically as another form of basically like female porn or girl book porn. So they always have fucked up shit like that.
And it is fan fiction of Anne Rice's shit. And again, I'm going to agree to disagree. Because honestly, he was an adult. And she was a child.
If you want, I'm still going to argue back at you. So why don't we just stop arguing? It'll be just like Spider-Man No Way Home. We're just not going to talk about it because otherwise I'm going to strangle you if I ever meet you.
I'm going to strangle you back for that one. That's what I'm going to. That's a hill I will plant my flag and die for.
That's fine. We just will not discuss it.
And this was one I will plainly.
Except for Tyr doesn't realize is he's going to start getting strangled and he's going to be like, harder, I'm almost there.
Oh, God.
Harder, my man. I'm almost there.
Okay. I'm grossed out.
But I think that was enough to get it to where we can go to a different thing on that one.
Yeah, I would really, really like to move on. Oh, Sookie Stackhouse. Sookie was lame. Alaric was great. Bill was awesome. Sam was my favorite character. I was really glad that the show kept Lafayette alive. And
because I mean, we can get
Eric
we can get to a different part of
wonderful
lore for vampires, and that's like because of the newer Castlevania cartoon doing the whole thing of like, oh, it's not actually that vampires are weak against the cross because of its holy factor, it's because of the right angles in it.
Oh God,
or some
Jesus
dumb shit.
Christ.
I still just think the funniest thing is them being like, oh, we need, non-white vampires. So what do they get? They get black vampires, and it's a white guy hitting them with a whip.
Oh.
To just accept the world is stupid and fucked up and
well, again, it's that whole thing of they don't care about the source material.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they really don't.
Vampires. I saw Nosferatu, and I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've heard mostly positive reviews about it.
It wasn't a great movie, but it was pretty good. The cinematography was good. It had some issues with lighting in some places, but there were usually like good fire lighting effects in those scenes, and it served a point of not really necessarily giving you a visual of what Count Orlok actually looked like. So it was actually pretty good. It was very weird. There were a couple of scenes where you were looking at Lily Rose Depp in profile and you were like, huh, That's what her dad would have looked like if he was a girl.
Ew.
Because the lead actress is actually Johnny Depp's daughter.
I don't want to think about Johnny Depp as a girl.
Yeah, you do.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
especially since there's like a whole nude.
Angela, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said earlier. Just don't.
Okay, so
discuss this.
Tyr doesn't want to think of Johnny Depp as a chick, so obviously that means Tyr just wants to think of Johnny Depp nude as a guy.
Why must you attack me, Ryan? What did I do to you this weekend?
Nothing. This is
we
the
did just-
expectation.
We
Yeah,
did
yeah.
subject him to a 20-minute fight about a book/movie series that sucked.
Oh no, it's that one. That's something that always happens, and we always have that. And like, yeah, I would agree. From what I've seen, I actually want to get. I think it's a comic or is a graphic novel of the 30 Days a Night. I want to say I've seen most of the original of the movie. I don't hate it. I know there's a lot of mixed reviews, and majority of the people that hate it really hate it. Like it is again a
I
not
know.
good adaptation, but
I
it's
know
not
that
the
my
worst.
brother did not like Nosferatu, but I did.
Eh,
Well, apparently
one
for
of those
30
ones
days,
I
and
particularly-
well, apparently for 30 Days a Night, like they cut back on the brutality, like a lot of the brutality, and I think it was supposed to be like more grotesqueness of the vampires themselves for the movie, which is a bit more understandable. Which again kind of falls back in that whole thing of if it's going beyond what you can do with conventional stuff without just getting to straight up CGI, then just make it a full CGI movie. Or just a regular animated movie. There's nothing wrong with that.
But people assume that animation is for children.
Because they're retarded.
No disagreements here.
I'm actually looking forward to the 21st. And it's because, and I know I'm going to be really, really upset by what I'm about to tell you that I'm waiting for. Wicked Part 1
Oh God.
is releasing to streaming. And I'm really just curious to see exactly how badly it's going to piss me off.
See, I haven't read the book. I honestly think the stage play was pretty good. But granted, I had really nothing to compare it to. But I enjoyed it.
Yes, see, I loved the
I
book and the play.
just don't care to see the movie. Because again, it's one of those things that I knew the effects were going to be pretty terrible in for the whole thing because it's a stage play. So I'm not expecting grandiose cinematography. And as soon as I heard of it being made into a movie, it's like, don't just let it be as it was. And it's that whole thing like we discussed. Well, I'll say it's that whole thing we discussed earlier of where something gets popular and now they want to Hollywood wants to jump on that train and churn a bunch of that out.
My point is that a lot of people don't have the money to go see a play in a theater.
Oh, I understand that.
If they had turned around and just made a film adaptation of the play, I would be utterly and completely behind that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
like,
I
if they'd
know
have
that
just
they
done,
didn't.
I'd have actually been really cool if they'd have just done like a thing of gotten a couple different camera angles set up and had done a presentation
And recorded the stage play.
and recorded the stage play and just you went through and cut that up that way so you could see the effects better and everything of how it was. I'd be all behind that because it's what it's meant to be.
Absolutely.
It's
I would have
very
loved
difficult
that.
to make a stage play into a movie. The only one I've seen that I personally like on that, but again, you don't have all the excess CGI and like magic and everything, is Repo the Genetic Opera. Repo the Genetic Opera is based off a stage play.
Seen that still.
You have or haven't?
Have not.
Highly recommend.
I know you said you were going to show it to me and still haven't.
We haven't gotten to that whole thing yet because we were going to do Leprechaun next weekend with it being St. Paddy's Day.
But Shillelagh. Faith in Begorra.
Because like with Repo, it's one of the things that for how long it's been out, it's kind of been a back burner. The only reason I wanted to do Nobody was because the Nobody 2 comes out this year. But on that note, I will be back in a moment. I have to use the restroom real quick.
Faith in Begorra. Me and my Shillelagh.
Oh, no.
Where is it? I know I got that one. So I have that one.
Yeah.
Mm,
My thing about Wicked is if they were just going to do a film adaptation of the play, or
Mhm.
even just like record the play and release it as a movie,
mhm.
I would be fine with that. But the mood and the feeling and the just the general tone, yes, perfect, of the play is so vastly different than the book. It's brighter, it's more positive, even though it does not end necessarily on a perfectly happy note. It is 100 times more positive than the book is.
I was more than willing to give it a try to hold my nose and honestly give it the old Keith Ho in college try. However, I was turned off by both the actress and the I'm not a big fan of people's fan fiction.
What? We still talking about Wicked?
We're
Yeah,
we're
Wicked.
talking about Wicked.
Wicked is literally a fan fiction wish fulfillment. It is not done by not Roald. I said if I say Roald Dahl.
By L. Frank
Baum.
Baum, who's been dead
Yeah,
like
for 100
a
years.
long time.
Yes, it's not his work, and to go in and say, oh well, this is the true story behind everything. No, it's not. It is nowhere near. If he wanted that to exist, he'd have written that. You take you this necessarily need to make evil characters, give them a new light instead of let them just be fucking evil.
Oh yeah.
I like the way this was done. I like the concept of, and this is one thing that Ranting Monkey and I definitely diverge on. I like the concept of history is written by the winner.
Mm-hmm.
And that is literally what this is. It's the concept of what if this were an actual political story, and the part that we got from L. Frank Baum was the history book that was released. But this is
it's
the history that would have been released if the other side had won.
Well, it also works in the whole thing of like doing a whole what if they put it there.
Exactly.
It's when they go through and they try to say, oh no, this is the story. It's like, no, the actual story was written by the author. That's the story. Mm-hmm. If you want to say this is like, something off what the author had done because you have a great appreciation for it and whatnot, then it can work. Again, to quote Scribe on that one, what if Dr. Doom becomes Sorcerer Supreme?
That's literally what this is. There's even references in the songs from the play and that are intoned in the book itself that are like, this is the concept of what if the story that was created just happened to just be half of the story. The half told from the side that wants you to think that they're the good guys
Or a fun
because they're
fan
the
theory.
they're the ones in power now.
Mhm.
Like the think World War II Japan, where the Japanese civilians had been told for so long that the Americans were demons that were going to eat them if they caught them. And so they were like killing themselves so that they wouldn't be caught when the Americans
Mhm.
made land. So think of this as the Japanese civilians. Or think L. Frank Baum's version is the Japanese civilians, whereas this is the American.
I still just look at it
Kinda
as
thing,
it's a more fun, basically, what if scenario or a fan theory, and just it's fan fiction and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
no.
The problem is that there are too many people that are on that whole thing that are trying to say, no, this is the whatever. It's like when they come into Lord of the Rings, like, no, this is the actual thing. This is what Tolkien meant. It's like, no, he fucking didn't. If he did that, he just said it.
Yeah, that's
If you want,
that, what I'm saying. I wasn't saying that it's a this is.
No. That's for something we agree on, Angela. What I'm saying
Okay.
is that there are people that are a part of this, the making of
Yeah.
it, that are doing that.
Because okay, I can believe that. Because I can tell you straight up that the author would have been really, really displeased with that concept.
Yeah, that I wasn't trying to bash your ideology on it or anything. It's that whole thing of there are people who are basically joining in on, or it's like become part of this thing that they're trying to say, oh no, we know better now, or we know better than they did.
It was literally just. I really, really love this story. L. Frank Baum was amazing. He created this great world where people like us would be accepted and even normal. But what if the wizard actually wasn't really the good guy? Basically.
Well, because this is supposed to also be more based off the movie than it is off the books?
No, this is based off of a book called Wicked.
No. What I mean is, the book of Wicked is based more off the lore of the movie than off the actual Wizard of Oz books. Because the actual Wizard of Oz books are way fucking bloodier, and I still have to read them at some point.
Yeah, they're super darker. But yeah, it is more based off of the movie with Judy Garland and Ray Bolger and everybody. Yeah, you are correct. It is based more off the movie than the books. And
because like we saw the starting of that with the whole quote unquote 1619 projects. Like, no, this is the actual history. It's like, no, the fuck it isn't. Like, yes, history is written by the victors, but you're being completely retarded.
I kind of look at it as like a mirror universe or a what if project or something like that. The guy who wrote these is very good at what if and choosing one character to what if. He also did a book called The Diary of an Evil Stepsister or a Wicked Stepsister or whatever. Evil Stepsister, which was the story of Cinderella from the point of view of one of her stepsisters. Where this one stepsister was actually not a bad person. Even though, like, the other
the rest of the family,
the stepmother
were assholes.
Not cool. But this one stepsister was not a bad person.
And I'm going to also say to you, as I've said to Tier as well, you don't always need to tap your desk as you're talking.
I
It-
know. I have
you're getting into a
have like
thing. I get it.
I have like a map going on in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like placing things on the map. I'm sorry.
And that's where, like I said, for at least for me, and I think even Tier would agree in that one,
Mhm.
the problem is some of the people that are on the project, not necessarily the project itself.
The people themselves, yes.
Because like there's still people that, even with the whole fact of like what Kathleen Kennedy has done to Star Wars, and even what Lucas did for like the prequels in a lot of cases, just because he did actually need someone to rein him in, there are still people that love Star Wars. They hate what a lot of people have done to Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yes,
I really like Star Wars.
I agree. I hate what Star Wars has devolved into.
The last good Star Wars movie was Rogue One.
Last good Star Wars movie was Episode 3.
See, I didn't hate Episode 3. From most of what I've seen, the actual animated TV shows are pretty good. And it's like
the Han Solo movie was actually a good movie. It just shouldn't have been called Han Solo.
No, it should never existed. The problem. All right, there's something as the mystique. You don't want all the questions. Like, remember when we sit down and we enjoy
Why
movies?
it would have been a great side adventure if it wasn't called Han Solo.
If the movie was any other character in that universe, then it would have been fine. However, you ruined the mystique of several characters.
Mm-hmm.
You ruined the mystique of Lando and the mystique of the Falcon. You ruined the mystique of Han Solo, and you ruined the mystique of Darth Maul.
Yeah, and also kind of like the whole thing for bringing up metachlorians in Episode 1, then thankfully never talking about it and scrapping the idea, when so much of what the Force was supposed to be was to have that mystique in it. It's the whole thing's getting into, they're going through and giving a backstory for a character who didn't need one. You had enough of a backstory to get there. You didn't need to know the rest of it.
You didn't need to know the why.
That's literally exactly what I was saying. You just used a whole lot more words to say it.
Yeah.
If it was not the Han Solo story, if it was just a side story about Joe orphan kid from planet Schmuckety Blah.
Well, if it was
let her finish. Let her finish.
Who ended up being taken in by smugglers, it would have been fine. That happened to be taking place in the Star Wars universe. It would have been fine.
So I'll ask if you're finished.
I am finished.
Okay, Tier.
But the problem is that it had the Star Wars. Mm-hmm. All right, so there are some IPs that could stand alone and be great IP, or not great, but fairly interesting IPs without attaching certain names to them. And I will bring up Star Wars, I will bring up Monster Hunter, and I will bring up Metal Gear Solid. Now, for Metal Gear Solid, the last game in the Metal Gear Solid universe they made was Survive. Metal Gear Solid Survive. It is a shit Metal Gear game. It literally is. Metal Gear is a overly long, born out, dramatic action stealth game with political elements. However, Metal Gear Survive was essentially an AU about zombies and shit. It would have been fairly passable if not attached to the Metal Gear IP. Now, I bring up Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter actually had a movie. However, it was an isekai about Milla Jovovich is like SEAL team, like she's a U.S. Ranger
Yeah.
that gets somehow isekai'd into the Monster Hunter universe with her team, and she's taking down a Diablos. Now, for anyone that knows about in Monster Hunter, Diablos is not a beginner fight.
Nope.
That is something that you work your way up to. That is something, and it was a black Diablos at that. So that meant it was one of the variants that is fucking insanely powerful. And had it been had they not attached any of the Monster Hunter stuff to it, had they not used the designs and the IPs for Monster Hunter, it probably would have been a good movie because it's a new IP and we don't know the rules of the universe. Now I bring up Star Wars and Han Solo. Again, like you said, had it just
I'm gonna
been
cut you off
set in the universe.
just for a second
What?
here, and that's with Clown saying it's like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Had it been just Season of the Witch, would have been amazing. But they added that. But the whole thing, from my understanding, was originally they were meant to do like an anthology
Anthologies.
type thing. So it was supposed to be like they had the Halloween name, were supposed to take place during Halloween, but not all be in the same universe. Kind of like God, I'm trying to think the TV show.
Never Ending or Amazing
So,
Stories.
It's a horror show.
Tales from the Crypt.
It's not Tales from the Crypt. It's kind of like Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Dark Side. The
No,
Twilight
it's more
Zone.
recent to where they actually keep all of the same cast, but each season it's
Are
a
you talking
different
about
story.
American
Horror Story.
Story.
Thank you. Because like each one is a different thing, but it shares the title.
Hmm.
And it even has all of the same cast, but now they're in a different place, time, and location, and not even necessarily in the same universe.
Playing different characters.
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that can work. And again, that was the original. The reason why they went back and returned it to Michael Myers, because again, like you said, that was the original intent to only be in the connective tissue being the season of holiday of Halloween. It's because the fans wanted more Michael.
No, actually what they did was they kept the second one was supposed to be a play on people's fear of hospitals. Only instead of keeping it that, they had it be the same characters. So because they did that in the second movie, they bombed the idea. They destroyed the
torpedoed the idea.
potential. Yeah, destroyed the potential for it to be just set different stories set at Halloween. If they had just kept it as a people are afraid of hospitals, ooh, creepy thing, then it would have been fine. But they were like, so what can we do to make this hospital scary? Well, we can have Laurie in the hospital after she was attacked by Michael, and Michael can go back after her at the hospital.
Yeah, like again, it could have worked had they kept the original idea from the onset. Again, you didn't have to have a slasher villain. It could have, like I said, it could have been something different. You could have taken another IP and not another IP, but another story and did that and made it like what you originally wanted.
Well, again, like you can go with the Star Wars series. The Mandalorian had brought back so much of it until they fucked it up. But like the first at least season or majority of the seasons didn't have anything to do with any of the original cast of the Star Wars series. It was just set in the Star Wars universe.
When that could work.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. And like I know Rogue One is
they had
pretty,
done something like that. It would have been.
I know Rogue One is pretty well liked and everything, but I also still kind of like the Star Wars games with Star Destroyer.
Star Killer.
Star Killer. At least the first one. Getting into the sequel shit gets kind of weird.
Yeah, clones and past, that shit stuff. Yeah. Granted, death is not permanent in the Star Wars universe. We've seen that shit 100 times.
Pretty sure that got to that one, but first thing, like, because then they, doing the whole thing of just having to bring back the same character. I'm almost surprised they didn't try to fucking make Palpatine more sympathetic.
Yeah.
Circling back to that whole thing to where we kind of have like changing the villain of either making them sympathetic or trying to make them worse than how they were, because being just a killer isn't good enough.
That's so I don't understand why one evil isn't enough.
No,
Somebody
I-
has to be just all kinds of evil.
no. This is my thing. I'm tired of them trying to make evil good, make the evil sympathetic. Some characters were better as monsters.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what we're talking about here, is not just having some characters better as monsters, like they should leave them as just being evil, or a force to be, it's like a force not to be fucked with in a lot of occasions as well. But taking someone who was already evil for what they did, but then saying, now we need to add these other things on them to make them seem more evil or give them more reason to be hated.
Like
the
Freddy
whole thing of
Krueger in the
Freddy,
remake.
That's exactly what he was talking
Yeah.
about. He was saying that we're kind of back.
Yeah.
We're kind of
We've
back
kind of come
treading
full
the
circle.
same thing. Yeah, the
It's-
same thing we started
same,
with.
same, but different.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
difference.
No, because like I hate that as well. And I kind of, it's one of the few things I argue with Pat, or have somewhat argued with your boy Pat about, of like when they bring up Maleficent and everything.
Mhm.
And if you actually look at the story of Sleeping Beauty for Disney in that one, quite literally one of the biggest things in there, or the person who actually fucked that up for everything, was the three fairies.
Yep.
Because
She
quite
was going to
literally,
leave a gift and leave.
well, most likely would have, or wouldn't have left anything, but would have, given a blessing or something like that. Because there's no guarantee she would have given a gift. But like if the king or queen would have gone through and do something, then they make the movie of making now all of a sudden the king is the bad guy and he stole from her. It's like, no, they actually base that on the whole thing of like, Maleficent was an extremely powerful being that wasn't necessarily good or evil. To not invite her would have been an extreme insult, which would have had her take her rage out upon you. So
Yep.
you would invite her anyways.
Even if she wouldn't have came, she'd like, nope. I got my invite though.
Yeah.
If you actually read the original story, she wasn't even not invited. Her invitation fell under the rug.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for the
Her invitation fell under the rug and she decided that she was snubbed.
yeah, because for the Disney one, I think they did it well of being like, oh, she was invited, she showed up, and it's the other fairies like no one wanted you to be here anyways. It's like, then why was she invited? And that actually gets into some of the, depending on what it was, going into the whole thing for like the fae creatures.
The fairies were the real villains.
Yeah. Of like the thing from some old lore and whatnot for some of that, depending how it was, because there were I can't remember where exactly, there was actually supposed to be like 13 great fae, and you could only invite 12 because to invite 13 was
Bad luck.
a bad luck thing. So it would basically have to be like a decide upon who was going to get left out.
Who's gonna get snubbed?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a whole thing of like to snub them to be disrespectful. It was, we're trying not to anger any other potential spirits in there, because doing all 13 could be bad upon everyone, not just the humans, but the fae themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't getting into some of that freaking, I guess like supernatural lore of it and whatnot, just kind of fun?
Oh, don't get me started on fae lore.
13 would bring Jason. He wasn't alive then.
the whole never ask a Fae a direct question. Number one, they won't answer you because it's rude. But you also may offend them because even to ask them would have been rude.
Never accept gifts from never accept food from a Fae. Never ask them a direct question, or never tell you your full name.
Never accept food. Never accept Fae food from Fae.
Yeah.
If you make food in your house and they just happen to hand the plate over, it's fine to accept the plate. But if they have made the food, do not accept it.
I still like the old joke of, so a guy makes a deal with a Fae, and she's like, okay, so with this, I will take your firstborn child. And everything. He goes, okay, so when do we start?
Yeah. You say you want my firstborn child, so. Oh.
Dun dun dun! My, how the turntables. I still just thought for like a little what if joke story thing that was actually pretty comical. Like, kind of get the Fae. It's like, I will take your firstborn. Well, I will. We're gonna have to make it first.
That was the joys of Rumpelstiltskin. You have to give me your firstborn child. Okay, you don't want to give me your firstborn child? You have 3 days to guess my name. You can make as many guesses as you want in each day, but you have 3 days to guess my name.
The games they play.
Yeah.
A man in Fae. It's fucking 2:00. God damn.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's been over 2 hours, so we're gonna get out of here. See, voids always have this where we have that slightly slow start, and then once we get in, we keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
So this was fun. Appreciate everyone for coming out. Don't forget St. Patrick's Day is coming up next week. We'll be watching The Leprechaun, the first one. Otherwise, double check your electronics that don't have a internet clock, especially if you use them, so that way you can remember to change them. Like on your oven, microwave.
I never changed my oven timer.
My oven doesn't have one. I changed one on my microwave because I actually use it. But we're going to get out of here. Check everyone else on their stuff. There's links to about a whole bunch of people.
My brother. And everybody else out there.
Bye, everybody.
So take it easy, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Join us again next week, or you can check out the other people in the panel in the description and see us again plausibly on one of their channels, or just check out what work they've done. Have a good week, everyone.